of fear around money. And she makes you do these exercises like to think back to your childhood and things that may have happened. But I'm just curious, do you get to that with your, your clients and the people that you work with? Do people kind of like admit that they have certain fears about money or like how to spend it or what to do with it or how to even making it? Is that something that comes up, or is your practice just more kind of, facts, here's problem solution kind of thing?
It's a fantastic question. And first of all, I'm a big fan of Susie Orman. She's been giving, I think, good financial advice to people for a long time, which is awesome. I don't know if as many like college students know about her nowadays because there's like a bit of a generational gap there, but she's awesome. Yes, absolutely. I find that what I am doing with clients, like you mentioned in your kind intro, my background is in economics and psychology, my educational background, and I find this is 90% psychology, 10% economics, right? Like the numbers matter, but the why behind it and sort of ultimately this is, it's often a change in mindset and a change in perspective that really helps people. And I think you nailed it on the head, and Susie Orman did. A lot of it comes from childhood in terms of seeing how you, what did you see growing up? Like, how did your parents manage money? What did you kind of normalize as far as, how to think about spending and saving? And people have all kinds of interesting, things in their head that can really harm them around money or can help them. But some of the harmful ones being like, some people I've met, I've worked with folks that have a belief that like money is evil, and like having money, if you have a lot of money, like you're a bad person, and so something like that. I've worked with other folks who just like whenever their parents had money, they shared that they would just spend it and blow it. Like, if they had money in the bank, like, all right, let's treat ourselves, like let's do something cool. And so they never really did have much money, and I think it's a lot of it's psychological, a lot of it's fear based, and a lot of it's about your childhood. And so we do go through that. It's not like all we do, and I'm not a psychologist by any means, but we do talk about that because it's a really important aspect of managing your finances effectively. If you don't figure out why you're struggling from a psychological perspective as well as just a numbers perspective.
That's really cool. Well, I think it's important for these young women to understand that too. I think it's, it's just not another task on the list. It has to be addressed as like it's a big thing, like money, career, it's just like it's a whole part of your life. So that's what I believe. So I'm so excited that you're taking on this initiative for people because it's super cool. So, do you think that there's differences? Have you seen differences in your clients, men and women, and how they think about money, or you don't really think about it that way?
I have. And one thing that I've seen, and of course these are all like generalizations, on average. The thing that I see, and actually there's some studies that back this up, men tend to think they're better at finances and know more about finances, and women tend to actually know on average a little bit more about finances, but women come in saying, I know nothing about finances. I suck at money. Like, and they a lot of women I work with, like, and I work with about half and half, men and women, but a lot of women I work with come in being like, I really suck at money. I know nothing about it. And then when we go into it, I realize like, okay, you do, have, some good foundation here. There's some things that and that you're doing that are really, smart. And a lot of men will be like, yeah, I got this. Like, I have this covered. I got this figured out. And then we see like, okay, yeah, there's some good things you're doing, but there's a lot of things, you're missing here. So I think the overconfidence versus underconfidence, I would say, is one of the big differences I see between men and women. I think it's unfortunately a lot of it's societal. It's like there's this old idea that like men are good with money, or men manage the money in households, and women aren't and don't. But studies have shown that women are just as good, if not better, at managing money than men. So that's just an outdated philosophy that we need to get rid of.
Yeah, that aligns with some of the work that I do with these women. There's so many of them are super talented, and they just don't have the confidence and the self-esteem for whatever reason that is. And I don't I don't work with the men in the same vein, but I do know that is something I really have to work on with them, is just building up their confidence in themselves, because they have it. They just don't, they don't feel it. So that's really interesting. I love that. I love that. That is just like, it's like so validating. Awesome. All right. So if you had to say, if you could give these girls the top 3 tips as they graduate and think about the real world and supporting themselves, could you name them?
Sure. All right. So as they're graduating, top 3 things I'd recommend. First of all, and this touches on the confidence piece we've been talking about, know that you can do it. Like believe in yourself, because that is the baseline for it. Like, even if you believe you suck at money and you're undisciplined or whatever, story you're telling yourself, it's not true. Like, you can do it. You absolutely can. And so I want you to believe that if you're listening and you feel like you're struggling with money. The second thing I would recommend is save something. Like, and by save, when I say save, I mean like either put into, a way for the future, or pay off, high interest debt, or, put it into retirement. But any of those I'd count as saving. Save something. Like, even if it's a very small amount, start doing that from like day one, because you'll really set yourself up well for the future. And it's building a habit, right? It's just like, even if you're putting away $10 a month at the beginning, and hopefully you're increasing that over time. But just that habit of like, every month I pay myself. Call it paying yourself. You say like, all right, money comes in, I automatically pay myself, and then I go and pay all my other expenses. And that habit will really pay off in the long term. And the third thing I'd say is find someone who you trust, who maybe you see as being good with money, or something like that, who can be a buddy for you, someone who you can say like, hey, maybe it's your older sister, maybe it's a cousin, maybe it's a friend, who is good with money, who you can be like, hey, can we talk about this? Because there's a stigma in society where we can't talk about money, or we don't, or we're not supposed to, or all we can say is like, I'm broke, right? We can't get into it in detail, but have somebody who's willing to talk to you about it and how they manage their money, who's good at it. And you'll know if they're good at it if they're like saving and they're, feeling, confident in how they manage things. Find that person and have them, be your accountability buddy. Because otherwise it's so easy to just end up, off track. Because like I said, there's so many bad examples out there. Those are my 3 tips.
I love it. I love the third one, because it's true. Why can't we talk about sex? We talk about relationships. Mm-hmm. We talk about career. We don't talk about money. It's like, the more you talk about it, the better it is, and communicate, and it's like more comfortable, right? I mean, so yeah, awesome. Love that. Okay. We have to wrap up, but there is one other thing that I just want to know, because your value proposition is really strong, but why do people choose you, Vinny? There's a lot of choices out there. What has made you successful so far? What's like the one thing that's really like, getting people to pick you?
Ooh. I think it's that I'm really positive with people. Like, I try to make this a really fun, enjoyable thing, and I try to get people to believe in themselves. Of course, we do all the number stuff as well and make sure that's going in a good direction. But like, I'm not judgmental. If somebody says like, oh, I just spent like a crap ton of money that I wasn't supposed to, that isn't what we talked about when we made a plan together, I'll be like, okay, cool. What do you want to do, for the next week or the next month? And when they have a win, I'll be like overwhelmingly positive with them, because that is what it takes, I find, with some folks to break out of the mindset of like, I suck at money, or, I'm not disciplined. Just to like really highlight the wins and say it's okay, when things happen that are tough. And I think that's one of the things that has helped me be successful with the clients I've worked with, and then had them, recommend me to their friends and stuff. So yeah.
That sounds awesome. I I would agree. Highlight the wins. I mean, because the positive reinforcement and the fact that, yeah, people already feel bad, so you don't want to make them feel worse. So, okay, Vineet, thank you so much for being on the show. It was such a pleasure and an honor. And if our listeners want to reach out, what's the best way for them to get you?
Sure. It was an honor for me being on the show as well. Thank you so much. Best way to find me is either Instagram at Savings Academy is my handle, or you can DM me anytime. I'm happy to answer questions if you have any, or check out my website, which is savingsacademy.com. You can also email me, Vineet at savingsacademy.com. Any of those will be great.
Okay, Vinny the man, thanks again. Thank you so much. We'll be talking to you soon as we launch more content on money. And I love having you as a resource and that you're part of the circle.
Thank you. I'm happy to be part of the circle. So keep doing what you're doing. It's awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, take care. Okay, listeners, thank you so much for being with us today on this first show in a series all about money, 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 money. Have a great night and get out there and slay dragons. Money dragons.